WJLA 24/7 News. On your side at 2. Starts now.
News has gone from bad to worse for a lot of home buyers. Mortgage rates just reached their highest level in 21 years, and that has created a shortage of homes on the market, and that in turn is driving up prices and demand. Joining us this afternoon, Burr. He's president of the Maryland-based Burr Group, which is part of the Sotheby's International Realty outfit. First of all, great to have you with us. Thanks for your time.
Good afternoon.
I'm thinking this is a challenge, particularly if you're in the market, but for somebody in your position too, because the folks come to you and say, hey, I just got transferred. We want to get the kids in school as fast as we possibly can. What can you do for me? And the answer is you're going to have to pay more, I think, basically.
Well, realtors by nature are very optimistic, but the current set of data are very challenging. And it's tough on sellers and buyers right now, primarily due to the run-up in the interest rates.
Yes.
We had become programmed for a long period of time to have rates in the 3s and 4s, and it was historically an anomaly. We're now getting back to a more historical level of 7%, but it's a slap in the face really to the market because we haven't seen it in so long. So it's making mortgages much more expensive, and therefore it's dampening demand, which, by the way, is exactly what the Fed set out to do nearly 2 years ago.
Yeah, and that's an important point to make. This is where the Board of Governors wants things to be right now, because it does take the inflation, or some of the inflation, out of the overall economy. But again, if you're that family that needs to find a place right now and it's more difficult, the other side of that transaction is, if I've just been transferred and I need to sell my house, you've got problems as well.
Well, it's still okay for sellers right now because there's not much inventory. We're about a third down on inventory. So the pool of available buyers is chasing a smaller group of listings. And for the savviest sellers who are pricing their properties reasonably to sell, they're going to do okay. It's the sellers who feel entitled to getting more than what their neighbors got over the last couple of years who might find themselves disappointed when their properties don't sell in the first few weeks.
Yeah, it's not the lottery necessarily. You have to go into this thing with reasonable expectations, and sometimes that's hard. What are you telling buyers right now? If you do need to do something quickly, what's the strategy?
So the strategy is really to look for properties that have opportunity on better sales prices. And that means looking at properties that have been on the market for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, rather than chasing the hot new listing that might get multiple offers the first weekend. For example, I just helped a buyer make an offer on a property in Montgomery Village up 270 last weekend. There were 16 offers. That was quite amazing to me. But it could be that was an anomaly. We're seeing many listings now with price reductions and seller incentives like willingness to pay buyer closing costs.
And things like home inspections and that sort of thing. Those are pretty much in the past anyway. But again, if you're concerned about an existing home that's been there for a while and maybe on the market for a while, you kind of want to know what's going on. But people aren't asking for things like that.
Well, as the market is going to be cooling more and more, we're going to see those historical safeguards for buyers come back into the offers. We're going to see appraisal contingencies. We're going to see financing contingencies. We're going to see inspection contingencies. To me, it's just a matter of time before we get there. Having done this for 36 years, I've been through this kind of cycle a couple of times before. And so there are going to be opportunities for buyers. And sellers at this point need to just be as reasonable as they can in terms of how their property is presented beautifully and how they price it.
because this has been an upward trend, does that tend to squeeze some of the speculation out of it a little bit? People know that they're going to have to pay more, but they don't want to necessarily grossly overpay for a property, and so that when they start making offers on homes, maybe they'll change some things, maybe they'll pay closing costs, that kind of a thing, but they're not just going to sit there and write blank checks, basically.
Well, this is the time in the market when realtors play up the real wonder of owning one's own property, that it's not necessarily an investment. It will be over the long run, but there's certain times when the market might go sideways or slightly down. And then it's more to have the value of, owning your own property, being able to do with it what you want, getting the great tax deduction on the mortgage interest and the property taxes. These are the things that are still very valuable to buyers and that do make up part of the American dream.
It's just not the selling or the buying price. It's a lot more than that.
Correct.
Very interesting assessment of where we are, and we appreciate it. Corey Burr is the president of the Burr Group, part of the Sotheby's International Realty outfit. Thanks so much for joining us this afternoon. We appreciate
Thank you, Dave.
You're telling us where things are right now. We really appreciate that.
My pleasure.